Hi, my name is Arlo DeVry. I'm going to explain to you why exactly the Bob Dylan song Friday is not known by many people and why it's so brilliant. This song obviously has recently taken popularity because of a performance that was as distasteful as it was poorly sang. This performance was done by one teenage girl named Rebecca Black.
It's Friday, Friday, gotta get down on Friday. Everybody's looking forward to the weekend. Friday, Friday, getting down on Friday. Everybody's looking forward to the weekend.
I wouldn't presume that everyone would know the Bob Dylan rendition of this song, but it is a stunning, brilliant, layered anti-war protest song that very few people have heard of because it got mixed up in a lot of business and politics and stuff like that. I can explain that in the end of this at the end of this video. I can explain how you might not have heard the Bob Dylan version of this song and why you didn't even know it existed for many of you, I'm sure. But first I'll explain the genius of the lyrics. Again, this has nothing to do with the terrible and distastefully insulting version performed by that teenage girl. I just hope it wasn't her idea because that was terrible. The real lyrics are a work of art, and let me walk you through them and explain what they mean exactly.
7 a.m. waking up in the morning. Gotta be fresh. Gotta go downstairs.
And in the beginning is about struggling with being at peace with all that follows. You know, you wake up in the morning and then who you are and what you've done comes back to you. And that's why the person is trying to be fresh. They're trying to clear themselves. But you go downstairs, which is an obvious reference to hell. And you can't get out of it.
Gotta have my bowl. Gotta have cereal. Seeing everything.
This line's obvious reference to marijuana usage. Smoking a bowl is a way of saying consuming marijuana through, a pipe or whatever. Then, gotta have cereal is Dylan's just cute little reference to the munchies, the desire that comes with marijuana frequently of just craving junk food. Many people didn't appreciate Bob Dylan has a good sense of humor, and even he in his darker songs he's got a little gallows humor that seeps in there from time to time. And then Seeing Everything is obviously a reference to a sense of wisdom that one might get from many drugs, including marijuana, just certain insights that one feels when consuming the drugs.
Time is going. Ticking on and on. Everybody's rushing.
This is a very clever line. This is classic Dylan line. Has two interpretations. First, that we're people facing our own mortality. That we rush in through life and we don't know what we're doing. And this applies more to this song is anti-war protest song, and it's my favorite Dylan song. It's the most clever in my opinion. And so this part references how we're feeling hurried. And of course, Tickin, deliberately phrased like that, ticking on and on, that's a reference to the ticking time bomb. And now, where the second interpretation comes to the line is that everybody's rushing. Now, it's very clear that he could choose everybody's in a hurry, everybody's speeding, but he says rushing. And that's obvious reference to the communism era. McCarthyism politics were soon before. This song was first conceived in, the 60s, when that was fresh in his mind, and it just stuck around with him. In an interview, Bob Dylan said this song was his longest song in the making. It started out as a song about McCarthyism, and then became a song about John F. Kennedy, and then became a song about Vietnam. And you can tell he spent the time and energy thinking up this brilliant masterpiece. So yeah, McCarthyism, not wanting to be a communist, not wanting to be Russian, and nuclear bomb, all in handful of words.
Gotta get down to the bus stop. Gotta catch my bus. I see my friends.
Bus stop is a common way that soldiers going off to Vietnam would depart in their large groups. You see your friends there, you feel like you have to go, and it's just a place that means you're going off to war. That's a straightforward enough line. Now this next line stumped me for a while. It was not until someone else made reference to it on YouTube video for Bob Dylan's recording of this song. Clever line, very clever line.
Kicking in the front seat, sitting in the back seat. Gotta make up my mind, which seat can I take?
The kicking in the front seat, sitting in the back seat. Gotta make up my mind, which seat can I take? Now I didn't quite understand where Dylan was going for this, but this is a reference to police cars. The police were deployed on people who avoided the draft. In this metaphor, we can see the person is kicking in the front seat. The front seat means they are working with the police or they're consenting, but kicking is a reference to the fact they're reluctant in their consent. So this was a choice for the protest people of the time. Do you participate in the war but consent while you're there? Or do you consider the other possibility of sitting in the back seat? Now, this line is brilliant when you think about it. Sitting in the back seat, you're not kicking. You understand that. But you are in the back seat. You are breaking the law. You're in the back seat of a police car. And the line sitting in the back seat. Taking a back seat is an obvious reference to meaning passive and not in control. So Dylan was talking about the protesters as a choice between going to war but objecting, which is the front seat, or avoiding the war and feeling like a criminal who's being too passive.
It's Friday, gotta get down on Friday. Everybody's looking forward to the weekend. Partying, yeah. Partying, yeah. Fun. Looking forward to the weekend.
And at this point, we get to the main chorus of the song. Friday, gotta get down on Friday. Now, throughout the song, there are several times they mention the word down. And it's simply clear. There are two obvious interpretations. Down is hell. But Dylan's more clever than that. I think more so it's a reference to northern Vietnam fighting against southern Vietnam, and indeed the Russians coming from up above. Everyone's moving south in that war, and so everyone's going down on any standard map. Everyone's looking forward to the weekend. Partying, yeah. And then he just goes on this rant trying to satirize war, really, is this kind of fun event. He says it with such disdain, but he repeats it and repeats it. And many people think that was because if you just kind of repeat an argument long enough saying, gotta fight the communists, and look, I don't like communists at all, but you can't just repeat something over and over and make that justification on itself. If you say partying 4 times, if you say fun 4 times, doesn't make it fun. And that's how they sold us in getting to war in a lot of ways. Looking forward to the weekend. Looking forward to the end of the week. Week is play on words. There's week in a war. War in Vietnam ended weekly. I don't know if he wrote this line before or after the war ended. It's a long song in development. But he, at the end of the war, we were considered weak. But this could just be looking forward to the end of time. Week being a measurement of time, and the end of time for most people's death, and it certainly is if you were unfortunate enough to fight in Vietnam.
7:45, driving on the highway, cruising so fast, I want time to fly.
Now, Vietnam was the first war in which the aerial component was quite important. Helicopters, were a way to just go in, fly in, cruising. 7:45 is a reference to, if you look at a clock at 7:45, 2 hands, not far apart but not touching. It's not clear exactly what it means, but I know it means something. It's just one of those things that makes a song beautiful, because you can figure it all out, but there are little parts where you go, I don't know what that means. I know it means something, because Bob Dylan's a genius, but I don't know what that part means.
Fun, think about fun. You know what it is.
Next lines are obvious. Fun, think about fun. This is just one trying to distract themselves. The atrocities of war. People in terrible situations repeat things in their mind, trying to keep themselves happy. Next part, you consider, you know what it is. Do we? I mean, it is a good question. What was that war? Telling yourself you know what things mean when you don't. Of course, leads us to the next line. Okay, this next part's very clever. You know what it is. Now, at this point, you don't know what it is. Okay? But remember the word it. Doesn't say it until the next point he does, and when it does, it'll all make sense.
I got this. You got this. My friend is by my right.
Now he says, I got this, you got this, my friend is by my right. It's because you're going into battle with your friend. Okay? He's the same friend since the bus stop. He's going into battle with you. And Dylan knows what this means. It's about going into battle with your friends. Fighting beside your friends and hoping, praying, and telling each other that you understand.
Hey, I got this. You got this. now you know it.
I got this, you got this. He repeats it again. And then he says, now you know it. See, he says it again. You know what it is. His friend just died in the battle. That was the point. His friend didn't know what it was. He didn't know what it was, but now he does. They didn't have this. They didn't got this. What he was saying was that you now know that it's hopeless. And that's what battle is. It's a struggle that's hopeless. And you tell yourself you're going to make it through. But a lot of them boys didn't.
Kicking in the front seat, sitting in the back seat. Gotta make up my mind. Which seat can I take?
He references again back to consenting with the police, kicking front seat, riding back seat, fighting the thing or participating, being passive or being strong. Turns to the Friday part. Again, just getting down, getting hopeless, trying to get through stuff, but just live until you die. Looking forward to you die. Looking forward to the end of your time, the end of your week time on this earth.
Partying, yeah. Fun. Looking forward to the weekend. Yesterday was Thursday. Today is Friday. Partying.
He says, things about the past. Yesterday was Thursday. Today is Friday. And he's trying to tell himself he gets it. He's repeating himself over and over. But it's just not something you can get that easy. Now, this next part's quite clever, and most people think it's the stupidest line Bob Dylan ever wrote, but it's the smartest, I can assure you.
We so excited. We're so excited. We're gonna have a ball today.
The critics who were critical of this album when it eventually was released in 1975 cite this line as evidence that Dylan just wasn't trying. Now, we so excited. That could only be written by an idiot or a genius, and Dylan is no idiot. It doesn't make sense, but he repeats it. We is the word you need to focus on. How does that sentence make sense? It doesn't. It doesn't make sense. We so excited does not make sense. How would you make that sentence make sense in English? We so excited. How about so excited we? Now it still doesn't make sense. But so excited us. That starts making sense. You start seeing it. So excited us. And then you realize what so excited us. And that was the point of the question. You don't know what excited us into war. You don't know what excites us into this McCarthyism. You don't know what excites us into anything. But the question is, what excites us? And that's what's the blank part of the sentence. And of course, when you see us, well, the letters in us, U.S., why are we so excited and all these things? We're going to have a ball today. Ball just refers to grenades that were thrown in battle. If you were to try and look up a synonym for ball, I'm going to have a ball today. What's the closest synonym? It's obvious again. Blast. Talks about all the explosions, death, grenades, ball, blast, grenade. It all comes together.
Tomorrow is Saturday, and Sunday come afterwards. I don't want this weekend to end.
Saturday, Sunday are the future, and they symbolize how long the wars and the fighting went on. But as we said before, weekend means the end of time. And now it's referring to the end of the world, the apocalypse. You don't want the apocalypse to end. You can't have it end, and he's speaking from the point of view of the government, because apocalypse is good politics. That's the joke. Again, that Dylan humor seeps in. Even though it's dark, it's gallows humor. It's in there. And then he returns the chorus. Brilliant, brilliant. The last non-repeated words of the song, so brilliant. And they didn't want the war to end. They wanted to just go on and on. The death to end. Did they want the death to end? I'll ask you that. Now, you might be wondering how this song get associated with some teenage girl rather than the rightful Bob Dylan. Well, it's because this song took quite a strange path in its development. It was originally developed along with Dylan's other songs for the album The Times They Are Changin'. 60s, Vietnam wasn't even there, and that's why Dylan cites it as starting out being about McCarthyism, because it was. The song was originally being called Get Down, referring to consenting with the McCarthyism, but Dylan wasn't happy with it, and it was one of the many songs that just kind of got lost in editing. Now, as he was doing this, the times they are changing. Soon after John F. Kennedy was shot, and this really rocked Bobby Dylan. And until that point, the song was just called Get Down, had no references to the day of the week, Friday. In a performance, November 22nd, 1963, where that was his last song he performed. It was part of originally going to be the album. No one knew the significance of that day, but now we obviously do. That Friday was the day President John F. Kennedy was assassinated.
From Dallas, Texas, the flash, apparently official, President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, some 38 minutes ago. Vice President Johnson has left
And this really shook Bob Dylan. And ever since then, the song's been called Friday. And it's been a tribute to hopelessness. Now, the Vietnam parts weren't in until later, until then, as I said, it was about communism and McCarthyism. But then when Kennedy died, it became about sorrow and hopelessness. It was later that Dylan was going to release it with his next album, but he was trying to reshape his image. He didn't know exactly which way to go with himself, and so he did his best, and the song kind of just got lost in the middle. It was too important for him to slip in with his other more loose rock and roll songs, so it just kind of sat in the back. And finally in 1969, when some of the trouble in Vietnam was starting to bubble up, getting pretty strong force, in fact, Bob Dylan returned to this song, returned to the sadness that he had felt when John was shot, Kennedy, and he tried to remake the song into an anti-war song, a song about sorrow and dealing with it. And I don't know if it was about hopelessness or about hope, but it's about something. He said that he wanted the album released as a single, and he wanted it in the wrapping that one receives when they get a letter that their son or daughter has died in the war. So eventually, it just kind of got released by its own, and people were very confused because it was a single, but it was not called the name of the song at the time. The song was still called Friday, but the album, or the single, was called Get Down. This led to confusion. Added to that, people found the album very distasteful in its rapping, and it's why it was very limited release. And now it becomes one of the most rare albums to find. Copy just went for $2,000 on eBay, I believe, not too long ago. It's near as rare as the Beatles' Butcher album. But not many people have heard of it, where a lot of people have heard of the Beatles, which is why it's less expensive, less valuable in theory. But I just had to get this out there because I cannot stand to see people think that this 13-year-old girl is singing some stupid song, when in fact she is disgracing one of the best protest songs ever written by one of the best singers there ever been, Bob Dylan. And Friday, also known as Get Down, is a classic song, and I hope I set the record straight.
I don't want this weekend to end. It's Friday, gotta get down on Friday. Everybody looking forward to the weekend. Partying, yeah. Partying, yeah. Fun. Looking forward to the weekend.